Hey guys, I'm Chewy Mew, and welcome to my channel, but more specifically, welcome back to another Chewy Mew review, where today I'm going to be taking a look at a custom figure. So I've already done this custom before, and I didn't really like the way it looked, so I decided to go back and redo it, and that is the Spider-Man Classics figure, using a Carnage body, my hybrid figure. So I repainted everything, I repainted the figure, I added some new legs to it, and of course, it's hard to tell. I know it's really hard to notice what I did new, but I'm going to try explaining it to you. I made new wings. Of course, that was being sarcastic. Of course, it's obvious. So, I think this looks a lot better than the original custom. If you put it kind of far back, it looks like he has a lot of shading to it, but when you put it up close, you can kind of see. Actually, no, on the camera, it looks like he's got shading still. So the original one was a much more dark burgundy color, kind of like, a little bit kind of like his mask here, or his face, I guess. It's not really a mask, that's kind of like his face. A little bit like that color. The whole body was that color with a little bit of black. And the paint was, I forgot to paint that part right there. I'm probably going to go back and repaint that. So I repainted it. The claws I originally made like the entire hand on both sides. I made it, what was the color? I made it all white, and then the parts were just kind of like all very dark red, kind of like the color of this, like burgundy look, like blood reddish. And then the feet, what I did for this feet, I just cut the toe joints to make it look like feet. But actually what I did was, so I had a lizard figure, one of the Hasbro figures, like one of the 2008 figures. It was like their version of Ultimate Lizard, where they looked kind of dumb. And that figure I had, and eventually it broke and got destroyed. Pretty much all I have left is the head. Pretty much all I have left is the head, the two arms, and the legs. I lost the tail and the torso got destroyed. And I think the legs are broken too, so I decided to chop his legs off. I mean, he was dead anyway. I chopped his legs off, and then I super glued them onto this guy, and I repainted them too. This one looks really good, and you can't even notice really how. You can tell where I attached them, but it's very hard to notice. This one, it's a little bit more obvious. Then I painted the claws white. I was going to paint these ones on the back too, but I'm probably just going to cut those off because he doesn't have spikes on the back. And I cut them in such a way that you can still rotate the leg here, which that's pretty good here. On the bottom of the foot, it says, I can't see that, 2010 Hasbro. Yeah, 2010 Hasbro. I thought this was 2000. I thought it was older than that. And also, the other one thing I did was as well, I used this Iron Man arm. So, as I said in many videos before, I had like a box of toys in my garage, like, you know, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, the Batman. I had a couple Avengers, like I had like some of the Iron Man 1 movie figures, and I think that was it. I just got like one Iron Man 1 figure, just, I don't know, just because. I think it was like a birthday gift or something. And so the figure melted, along with all the others that were in that box, except for, like, you know, a couple pieces here and there, like figures that, like, the lizard arm, I was like an excess piece and stuff. And so I used the Iron Man arm. If you look at both of these arms together, you can tell this one looks bigger than the other one. What I did was I wrapped glue dots around it. I cut the figure body open. I chopped it open. Like, you can, I pretty much took like these wire cutters, and then I kind of make like a little cut, and then I take some paint tools and I kind of just tear open the body. You can see there's like a little bit of chipping off right there in here. Then you can see some like pink inside of there. So I wrap the arm up with dried paint. So when you use acrylic paint and then you leave it there drying, it turns into it gets like hard, kind of like a rubbery plastic, which I use to make these his like the ears or something like that. I don't know what that is. Also, these are the same thing here too, to make these like little drippy looking things. And I wrapped it around the arm. I super glued it. Then when I stuck it in the joint, that's how the arm isn't loose, because the peg hole for the arm is really big, but then the arm inside has this the armpit joint like this. So I had to cut that off because the arm on the Carnage figure broke too. It broke right there on the elbow joint right here, and it broke in such a way that if you super glued it back to this, the arm wouldn't be able to move anymore. It would just get stuck, and all you could do would be that. So I decided, screw it, I'm just going to throw away that arm, and then reuse the Iron Man arm. And this being the same arm from the Lizard, I basically just took the peg joints from the Iron Man. I cut off the Lizard arm, because the upper arm was kind of destroyed anyway. I cut it off, I chopped the little grooves on it, and then I attached them together, Put a little bit of wire in there too to hold them together. You can see a bit of a big gap, but you still get a pretty good range of motion here. You still have the... That's actually a lot better than I thought it was. I thought it only went to there, but you also have the... This is kind of still double jointed where you have the Iron Man arm that moves, and then you have the lizard arm that moves. I think this claw looks better. I might actually go and do the same thing to this arm. Since he does a rotation here in the wrist, that would be kind of risky to cut that off. I might cut it there and then just attach the lower part of the wrist, because I think this claw looks better for this one. Let me know if you think this claw looks better, or if you think this one looks better. I also painted what I did was here for the tentacles, or I guess these are like wings, tentacles. They look like in random spots, but when you look at them, these are supposed to be like tendrils that they move around and stuff, so... I think that's kind of fine. They look a little bit too black on the camera, but they have some black and burgundy. I kind of just, pretty much for customs like this, like a Carnage and stuff like this, I pretty much just take the colors, I painted all of this red, then I take some black, and I kind of just like slap paint on it, and then I paint some kind of spots, and I tap them with toilet paper. Someone in the comments, I can't remember who it was, I can't remember your username, but sorry about that, but so he said, like to do shading and stuff, just like, slather paint on, like thin paint, and then just kind of like, wipe it away with a paper towel or toilet paper or something. Then it kind of gives like a spreaded look to make it look kind of like that. I did that in some spots, and I think it looks kind of good, because it kind of like is a burgundy, blackish, reddish kind of color. Kind of like Carnage, except not as crazy looking, which this is a Carnage body. The Carnage head, everything's from Carnage, except obviously the pieces I showed you. So these tentacles, I'll put a picture on screen of my original custom. It's going to be right here on the screen. And as you can see, the wings look nothing like this. The color's different. Everything about it looks pretty much different. The legs too. The figure was shorter because he had just regular Carnage legs. Now he's taller. And the wings, you may notice, those wings are from the Build-A-Figure Hobgoblin figure. The Ultimate Hobgoblin. I sold that on eBay, and I kept the wings because I made a custom with these. I sold the figure on eBay because I didn't really care about it that much, so I decided just to sell it. I bought it originally and thought it was cool, but I decided to sell that, and so the wings are from him. And so what I did for this figure was I cut the wings apart. I basically just took the shape of the wings, and I just cut around the line of the wings, and then I just cut various spots of the wings off. And then I super glued them to his back. The back doesn't look that good. I'm probably going to go and repaint some stuff on the back. But for me, since these are just, for my personal collection, they're just for fun. They're not, like, to sell or anything. Most of the times, they're posed in a way that you don't really see their back. And if I don't paint the back of the figure, it's... Like, you see, there's not really much paint here. They're kind of just, like, the basic red. That's because, honestly, most times he's going to be displayed in such a way that you won't be able to see his back anyway. So to me, it's kind of like, it doesn't matter. Also, I know he doesn't have these spikes here, but I decided to make some clay. This was on the original version. I used some clay. It looks kind of bad, but I took some clay here, and I glued it on. I kind of sculpted it to look like spikes. I know he doesn't have that, but I don't know. To me, it looks kind of interesting. Gives a little bit more flair and stuff. Like, it's based off of Hybrid, but I kind of did, like, a little bit of my own spin. A little bit. And also, you see these little things hanging here, too. These are also pieces of dried paint. You can see these, like, little flappy things here. These are also pieces of dried paint. Like, you can see some of the pieces here on the back, too. So, using dried paint, that's a really good, because you can make stuff like this. It's not, crazy strong. It's not like the plastic, like on his finger or something. It's not that strong. Or, like, the wings and stuff. But it definitely works pretty strong. You can use it as, like, it doesn't substitute clay. Like, if you're going to make a sword, you need clay. It won't work with this stuff. But if you're making, like, a little details, like, stuff here and there, it totally works. And, it's, very easy to use. You basically just, if you're mixing paint together, you just, once you're done using the paint, you let the excess dry. You peel it off of the paint tray. Actually, I might be able to reach it. I'm going to grab it. So this is what I'm talking about here. So this thing's pretty messy. I'm probably going to clean this off. So this is the excess paint from the painting this figure. And it's a pretty thick clump of paint. So I'm going to like scoop it out with a tool. If I also reach off screen, I use these tools for like, customs and stuff to like, scrape paint and do stuff to them. Oh, that feels, actually doesn't feel bad. I'm left-handed and holding this in my right hand. Doesn't feel that awkward. I might use the right hand for stuff. And so I would just kind of, like dig them in here and scrape them out and then just put them in a bag to let them because they're a little sticky. I let them in a bag and then they dry out and they get kind of like pruny, like dried fruit kind of. And then I peel them off. I cut them into shapes I want. Sometimes I repaint them and then I just glue them to figures and stuff. Like I've used them to make a custom New Goblin figure. I've used them for I've used them in various different ways for figures. I used it to make like a Green Goblin strap. I've used it for, like wraps and stuff. Looking at my figures, there's quite a few figures that I've used this on. It's really good way. If you have paint and you want to make like, something like that. I think that's a really good thing. Just, you can even use paint and like put it on the design. It'll be flat on one side, but then you can just like, glue it here. But I spent a lot of time talking about that. Take a look at the face here. So I do know Hybrid, you can't see his teeth. It kind of just looks like one whole piece, like he's got a mask on, kind of like Lasher, where he just has a mask. But I decided to leave the teeth here because I think that looks cool still. You can still see kind of like the symbiote looking face to it. The eyes, the paint, it looks, oh sheesh. It's knocked over my camera. You can see the paint there looks a little bit faded, but his eyes kind of have like a little bit of red overlapping inside the white part. The eyes are a little bit wider and like a little bit thicker there, like they go out a little farther. But painting that, I couldn't really get the paint to go and also have the little like lines on it. But, sometimes with customs, you kind of have to make do with what you're able to do. Because I'm not very skilled at painting. Like if I was to paint like a design, like some kind of cool design, that would be hard to do. But, painting figures like this kind of stuff where it's kind of random, I'm good at that because I'm not very, steady painting and stuff, But the figure it's pretty heavy now. If we take this figure and compare him to, for example, my first Spider-Man figure ever, my favorite figure in my collection, we compare these two together. Hybrid, he won't stand up straight really, but Hybrid is a little bit taller than Spider-Man, which I think that's probably accurate. Put Spider-Man back there on my shelf. Oh, I keep hitting all my stuff. The one thing is, the way I cut the legs, sometimes when you cut legs and stuff, it's really hard to get them cut perfectly, especially since I didn't want to use a big saw. I pretty much just used this Leatherman tool here, which, has like wire cutter, a bunch of cool stuff here and there. And it has this blade on it. So what I did was I basically just made lines on the legs, and then I just cut I probably shouldn't do that to my finger. I just cut the thing open, then I had to cut Carnage's legs off. And so I basically just did that. Took a lot of work to do, maybe like 2, maybe 3 hours to make this custom. It's pretty fun though. I have a lot of fun making customs, especially if it's like, something that it's not available to buy in stores. Like if I can buy it, I always feel like, why don't I just wait until I have the money and then just buy the real one? But if I can make a custom of something that doesn't exist yet, I think that's really cool, I definitely think this is one of my coolest looking customs. I do have a lot of other really cool customs, a lot of customs that look much better, but I think this custom is like the most abstract I've made. Like the New Goblin custom, a custom Hobgoblin, Mary Jane, Black Cat, Dr. Octopus. Some of those customs are pretty creative, but I feel like this one is like the most creative, the most abstract, most weird looking, But I think this looks really good. Let's go over his articulation, which I've done this before, technically 3 times, because it's the same body as the Spider-Man Classics Carnage, which is the same body as the Sinister or the Fearsome Foes box set. So the head's kind of loose, but he looks down all the way. He looks up not all the way, but the head rotates all the way around. Kind of gets stuck there, but it rotates left and right pretty good. The arm has like the armpit joint where the arm kind of moves like that. You can move the arm up all the way. Kind of gets bumped on the tentacles though. And you can rotate it almost all the way, but it kind of bumps are these wings or tentacles? I'm not too sure what they are. Tendrils. Rotation here in the upper arm. The same arm has the same, it looks different. Rotation here. This one has rotation here in the wrist. This one doesn't. Hinge in the wrist, and you can move the finger. This one doesn't have anything in the arm right there. He has a pretty good mid-torso crunch. Goes forward pretty good, and doesn't go back much. But, I mean, who cares? You can't really do much if you bend it back anyway. Rotation here in the waist. The legs kick up pretty good. They go back. Not really, though. You can do the splits. Because, of course, a creature looking like this can do the splits. Rotation here in the upper thigh, double bend in the knee, and he still has rotation here like the shin, I guess. He did lose the move in the toe and then the like the back and forth swivel of the foot. But I feel like sometimes it's okay to trade articulation for cool design, because without those feet, it looks a little funky. I feel like symbiotes, like a lot of symbiotes, they need like the big crazy toes like this or claws to look good. Like Venom looks good without it, but I feel like a lot of other symbiotes, they look good with like the toes sticking out. I think it looks pretty cool. It blends together. Painting stuff black, you really can't even tell the different kind of sculpting on it. Whereas this one, being from Lizard, has like this like lizardy like scales kind of texture, whereas this one has more like a symbiote kind of slimy kind of texture. I'm gonna go back and repaint this part. I forgot to paint that part. Also, he's missing the thumb on this hand, which, yeah, well, kind of, I feel like if he had the thumb, it looks kind of good. I feel like this claw looks better because it looks more like a hand. This one looks more like Freddy Krueger's hand, Looks kind of funky to me. But either way, that's me all for this review. If you liked the video, leave a like. There's going to be a link in the description to a playlist with all of my figures. I'm actually going to make a separate playlist for all of my customs. So if you want to see all of my customs, go check out that link in the description. I will warn you, some customs are really good. Some customs are pretty bad. So subscribe if you like this. Leave a like if you like this as well. Let me know what you think about this custom. And that's me all for this review. And might be a little pretentious, but this figure, I'm not going to give him Y. I think he's really good. This custom is amazing looking, looks really creepy, really disturbing, looks very accurate. So he's not going to get Y. Instead, bye guys.